Russian billionaire Mikhail Fridman has threatened legal action against the UK government after it said it will block his investment vehicle LetterOne Group buying 12 North Sea oil and gas fields from RWE. Joining me now to explain more is our energy editor, Chris Adams. So Chris, how do we get to this point?
Mikhail Fridman and his partner Gurman Khan made $14 billion from the sale of their stake in a joint venture between BP and some Russian oligarchs, including themselves, several years ago. That money they now want to use to go on an acquisition spree and build a global oil and gas company worldwide. As part of that, they've recruited Lord Brown, the former chief executive of BP, one of the most highly respected figures in the energy industry. The other part to this is a deal they're doing with German utility RWE, a €5 billion purchase of the oil and gas assets of that German company. Now, included in those assets are these North Sea gas fields. A couple of months ago, they were seeking what's called a letter of comfort from the UK government that in the event that sanctions, future sanctions, a further tightening of sanctions against Russian individuals and companies was applied, then this would not affect the North Sea gas fields, part of the deal, if you like, that they would continue to be able to operate these. Now, they knew that Ed Davey, the British Energy Secretary, was concerned about this. To allay those concerns, they said they would make the gas fields, put them under the operatorship of a Dutch-based body, should sanctions were applied, that would distance them from the rest of the group. And in the event sanctions were applied within a year of the deal being completed, which it is today, RWE would buy them back. Now, Mr. Fridman says he heard nothing substantive from the department up until Saturday, this weekend just passed, 48 hours before the transaction was due to be finalised. At which point the government put a statement on its website saying effectively that not only was it not going to provide a letter of comfort, but that it would require those North Sea gas fields to be sold to a third party in the event this deal went ahead. And it is that has really rankled Mikhail Fridman and his partners.
And he's now put out a letter basically saying that that decision was not rational.
It's really quite an emotional letter. It essentially accuses the department of briefing journalists over the weekend, of putting a statement out on its website just 2 hours after it told LetterOne and RWE of its views. And it's that, I think, as much as the arguments that he doesn't like in the government's case, that have persuaded him to sort of make this threat of a judicial review and if appropriate, he says, seek damages.
The other point as well for Fridman is that he thinks it's irrational to lump him in with the other sort of Russian oligarchs who are close to Putin. Yeah. I mean, this is someone who's kept out of politics, who doesn't see himself as a close associate of Putin, and therefore doesn't understand why the UK government is so paranoid about him being targeted by future sanctions. We've seen Fridman take on Western companies in the past. He hasn't actually, I don't think, ever challenged a Western government. This is a first for him. But he has had an incredible track record in winning big cases against large Western corporations. But I mean, presumably this is a bit of an obstacle to his efforts to sort of reinvent himself and to diversify his business out of Russia.
It is, and that goes to the heart of why he's doing it. I mean, one of the reasons he recruited Lord Brown is because he is such a highly respected figure in the industry, and he wants Lord Brown to be a frontman. He wants Lord Brown to go out and negotiate deals, to open doors for him. He knows that Russian businessmen are not well regarded. This highlights really how some of them are now getting caught in the crossfire over sanctions and the conflict in Ukraine. And it's interesting, actually, Mr. Fridman is actually Ukrainian born as well. That's one of the ironies here.
It's the irony. Yes.
But I think, I've no doubt that he will carry it through if Ed Davey goes through with his decision to force a sale notice on the company and require the sale of these assets. He will take it to judicial review.
And so we should prepare ourselves for a big showdown, I think.
Well, yes and no. No, perhaps because he may be, and he hasn't said this and nobody's said this, but right now we're heading into a UK general election. Ed Davey, amongst other MPs, is going to be fighting for his seat. It's not entirely clear who will be Energy Secretary after May. And if you stick around long enough and reel things out, you may be dealing with somebody different in the Energy Department.
Chris, thanks very much.